So we're faced with another levy.
Oh man, this is the 7th in 11 years.
What? Why are they so sure that these are going they keep bringing these to us and keep saying, well, this one, it's going to pass this time, it's got to pass this time.
Jeez. It's I believe it's the difference between the city tax and spend mentality and the county let's live within our means and make do with what we have mentality. And it's a very, very different approach to governance. The county people don't want this. It's all the good old boy, tax and spend cronies.
I have nothing against making sure that there's enough money for law enforcement. Of course I want law enforcement.
Right, everybody does. But the fact is where is the money going? That's the big problem that the county people have, is they're not going to get any service for this. Their property tax is going to increase substantially, and they're not going to get any rural patrols. They're not going to get any services. So why is it in the best interest for the county people to vote for an increase in their taxes when, you think of the old people, the senior citizens that are living on fixed incomes? I have friends who have to budget to barely make their property taxes now, and adding more of a burden on top of them, in my opinion, is it's not kind, and it's not fair, and it's not going to help the rural citizens of Josephine County.
Well, let's make the best case that we can for the people who are proposing this, because I think that they do have some points. They're saying, look, we need to be able to have sustainable budgeting for a jail, because it does no good to pick up somebody if you have nowhere to put them.
Right.
And we do need to have some kind of juvenile services, juvenile justice. It's unfair what happens to these children, etc. We need sustainable. We need to know what's going to happen. We need to be able to extend it into the future. Those are laudable goals. Those are good goals.
Yeah.
So what's our problem with this? Don't we want sustainable funding for reasonable goals?
We do, but not on the backs of the property owners all the time. We have forests over here that nobody's making any effort to. There are natural resources those are what sustain the county. That's your bank account. That's your income. Vic Harris.
The county forester.
Yeah, forester. Logs are county properties, and he does bring millions of dollars to the general fund for us, so for the county. So there's 68% of Josephine County is federally managed forest land, and nobody's making any effort to force the federal government to do something about it. Well, instead we have, our trees burnt up in the summertime and bug infested, all the other times, rather than proper management. And it's, in my opinion, the commissioners have not done enough in order to pressure the federal government. Even Jack Swift came up recently with a resolution, and they did nothing about it.
No, they really didn't. Well, all right, let's suppose, for argument's sake on this, trying to be fair to the people who are pressing for this, trying to be fair. Let's suppose that we knew that in 3 or 4 years that the federal government was finally going to do everything they're supposed to. Good luck with that. But let's suppose that that was the case. In the meantime, we would need to do something about some of these pressing problems, and I believe that these folks picked 2 of them. One is jail, which is kind of a knee-jerk reaction from a lot of people, and juvenile justice. Why, you love the kids, don't you, and etc. And even if we knew for sure that this was happening in 3 or 4 years, we'd still have to do something in the meantime, wouldn't we? Wouldn't this be a reasonable plan, or would it be more reasonable if we knew that?
Well, the problem with these levies is the people don't want them. The people keep voting them down, and why keep beating a dead horse? These measures, measure 1759 for the jail, is a 5-year levy for $1.19 per thousand of assessed value, and then they also have a 3-year levy for the animal shelter and animal control, which is 8 cents per thousand of assessed value for 3 years. And the problem that I have with all this stuff is 10% of all the money collected goes into the internal services fund.
That's the big one for me. Look, what I really object to is people like Mark Gatlin, naming names, and Sherry Adkins, who we've heard them tell people when they were signing the petition that 100% of this money is going to go to these law enforcement levies. The ones in the past, the current ones. It's not true. It sounds really good. Oh, it's 100, all of the money, well, we'll guarantee you all the, yeah, but it's not true. And so when it's not true, right away I'm thinking, now wait a minute, I don't want to vote for something where someone's telling me something that's not true. It's a lie. It's just not. Now, if they were to say, well, we'll guarantee that 90% of this, which that's the truth, will go toward, will probably go, will almost certainly go in the right direction, I might be able to live with that. But don't tell me something that's not true and then expect me to vote for it. Please explain. I hope people aren't bored with this. What is the ISF? What does it do?
Well, the Internal Services Fund is a fund that 10% now, this past year, 10% of all the departments pay this ISF fund. And
you hesitate a little bit because it's gone up from before.
Yeah, when I was in office, it was 8.75, and then it was 9.25, and so now I think recently it's 10%.
10% of every dollar.
Yeah, 10%,
is siphoned off to something else.
Yeah, and what it does is it pays for the commissioner's salaries and benefits. It pays for their travel. It pays, which I believe includes meals. It pays for the finance department.
Travel?
Yeah.
Traveling where?
Well, that's a good question. There's been a lot of travel to Salem by the commissioners, and in my opinion, I think most of it is pretty useless.
But they come back and give us a report or something, right? I mean, here's all the things I did for you. Here's the resulting legislation that's going to help us with jobs.
Well, you've been to all the meetings, and how many reports have they given? It's just that we don't. The county residents are paying for these trips to Salem, and Washington D.C. was
they end up chairing a committee.
Yeah.
The committee on buying new chairs.
The
I'm in charge
problem
of that.
is we do have state representatives and we do have federal representatives, and something, your county commissioners stay home and take care of the county. This is a big thing that bothers me is how many times in the past year have the commissioners, well, so-and-so's not here, she's up in Salem, or
yes.
so-and-so's not
Simon
here,
I'm going to be gone 3 times this month. Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah. Well,
to do what?
Yeah. And the problem is the county business, I don't believe, is being adequately taken care,
Well, you look at the
addressed.
bottom line. Do we all feel more prosperous? Do we feel, well, I'm in Salem getting us jobs. How's that working out for you?
Yeah, well, baloney. I don't believe that.
All right, the ISF, before we get off the ISF. So, there are departments within the county that don't bring in any money, like the IT department, the computer guys.
Yeah.
They don't bring in any money. They serve other departments.
Right.
And so they say, well, where's our money going to come from? So what the commissioners say is, well, when money comes in to those who do pull
Bring
it in,
money.
then they should share it with others. Well, here's the solution. The solution is, if you want to make absolutely sure that we're satisfied that the money's going to go to the proper, they'll never do this, but the money's going to go to the proper place. The way to do it is to say, all right, we're going to make an exception you can see already that they're not going to do this. We're going to make an exception for law enforcement, for county patrols, because this levy, for example, goes down in flames, okay? Then the next day, well, so you want county patrols after all, huh? Like we haven't said this before. And so we're going to have one just for county patrols, and why? Every dollar, no, don't lie to us, okay, 90%, every dollar is going to go to county patrols. Here's the way to solve the problem, I think. So, I haven't mentioned this to you before, you tell me what you think about this. They say, for this one thing, there's not going to be any ISF funds. We're not going to share 10% with the chief financial officer and with her staff, and we're not going to share legal counsel. Yeah. We're not going to share 10% with the commissioner's salaries, please. We're not going to do travel from this. We're just going to make sure 100% of that money goes to nothing but those patrols. And the way to do that, but what happens if they need computer services? Then they pay for them. Instead of pulling the money out of the things we want to put our money into, and then putting it into a place where we would prefer our money not go, like travel, if the people in law enforcement need IT services, or they desperately need a commissioner to go to Washington, D.C. and do whatever, just a slight digression. I'm looking at a picture on the website from NACO. It's the National Association of Counties. Mm-hmm. And it's a picture they put up on their website. They were happy with it. They were, oh, look at the wonderful time we're having. And it's a half-naked girl. I'm not making this up. And she's all dressed in Spanglies or something, and you see a lot of her. And she's on a table, and she's dancing, and everyone's like, whoa, that looks great. And they're all drinking. Hey, wait a minute. Don't spend my money that could have gone to law enforcement on this. No more naked girls on tabletops. Okay, all right, I just had to say that. Had to get it off my chest and hers. Look, if they then say, well, we're going to make an exception because we're in such desperate problems with law enforcement, then on this one exception, then every time you need a service, you'll pay for it, but you only get what you need, and that way, they've said in the past, well, now wait a minute. What if those law enforcement guys, they need photocopies? Why, they've got to pay. Yeah, well, if it's all going to turn right around and go back to law enforcement, why'd you take it out in the first place?
Well,
it can't all go back to the same people, or you wouldn't be taking it out. They take out 10%, and then they put it into these, well, wait a minute, if we don't drive up to Salem or fly up to Washington, D.C., why, there won't be any law enforcement. That's a big lie.
The thing, too, is it's a lot of money. The estimate for the jail and youth services and detention levy, if you added up all the money for
that they predict is going to come in,
the assessor's estimate, it's $41 million.
41 million total for the two projects?
No, for the whole 5 years, just for that, and 10% is $4.1 million.
For commissioners' travel and salaries and that kind of stuff?
For the ISF fund, yeah. And it's the same thing for...
That's a nice trip.
Yeah, and for the
I don't want them going on these trips to begin with.
Yeah, for the animal shelter, for the 3 years, they're going to take in $1.6 million, and so 10% of that is $161,000, almost $162,000. So when you do the math, this is over $4.3 million of taxpayers' money that gets diverted elsewhere before 1 cent goes to the promised services. Wait a minute, for the promised services for the jail or the animal shelter.
Say the number again. How much money?
It's over $4.3 million that's going to go to the ISF fund.
Instead of going in for the dogs and the cats
right.
and the...
Right. So
$4 million?
Over $4.3 million.
In 5 years?
Yes.
If this passes?
Yes.
Look, here's my problem with this. That's a big problem. When you've got people that are out getting petitions signed, it's against the law to tell them things that are not on the petition, especially to add in a bunch of new stuff. Oh, by the way, it's not written on the petition, but really, the 100%... Hey, don't say that. 1, it's against the law. 2, it's dishonest, and 3, it's fattening. It's not right to do that.
Yeah, and the thing too is when this money goes to the ISF fund, some of that for the commissioners goes to bomb.
Oh
you
no!
know,
Wait, you got to say what bomb means. Not that kind of bomb.
Building operation and maintenance.
Right.
It's the facilities.
Light bulbs and stuff like that.
Yeah, and blowing the leaves off the front steps and stuff like that at the courthouse.
Oh no. Okay, sorry. I'm interrupting you again. I apologize. So you mean to tell me that when someone believes that this money, all this money, is going to go to juvenile justice, which is a great goal. Mm-hmm. Some of it's going to someone to blow the leaves off the lawn?
Well, it's going to the commissioners'
salaries. We know that.
Well, the commissioners' budget, and then the commissioners have to pay just like everybody else, a certain bomb rate. So it's like this money gets filtered.
Siphoned off is more like
yeah,
it.
Siphoned off to various departments, and that's my biggest objection. $4.3 million is a lot of money for the taxpayers to cough up, for the other departments, for the commissioners, salaries and benefits and travel, for the CFO,
Chief Financial Officer.
Yeah, Chief Financial Officer salary and benefits.
She makes more money than the commissioners.
Yeah, she makes almost $100,000 plus 30% benefits. When I was in office, it was like $74,000.
Well, she's one of the people that says, "Oh, 100%." Well, what's her motivation for saying 100% of the money is going in the right place?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Part of her salary comes out of this, right?
Yeah.
Would she have a salary if it wasn't for the ISF?
No, because that's where the money comes from.
Oh, but aren't they going to say, well, it's state law, we have to do it this way, there's no other way in the world to do it? I don't believe that.
Yeah, but I don't want the public, especially for the animals. Everybody loves animals.
Yes.
And the thing is I don't want people to say, oh, this little 8% that we're going to collect for 8 cents per thousand that we're going to collect for the animals is going to go to the animals. It's not. 161,000 over 3 years is going to be siphoned off. And so, it doesn't go to promise services. It goes to maintain the status quo. The salaries, the benefits, the travel, the meals, whatever they need it for. So, look, Jackson County pays over 3 times, almost 3.5 times what we pay. Our tax rate is 58 cents per thousand, and they're crying, oh, no, we can't survive on that, we can't survive on that. The very same rhetoric is coming out of Jackson County, and their tax rate is $2.01, and they're saying we can't maintain, we can't go, the same exact rhetoric. We need more, we need more, we need more. It's never enough. And that's why rural residents rural people do not believe that giving them more and more and more money every time they cry for that they don't have any money is going to help. There are other ways they can be more prudent in what they're spending. If they show the public that they're not going to go buy vehicles every time just because it has.
They are buying a lot of vehicles.
It's just give me a break. Just rub it in the people's nose that we're going to give the CFO $100,000 in pay. We're going to give the unions COLA raises and
cost of living adjustment. When you look at something like $100,000 that you just mentioned, if you're running an animal shelter, gosh, $100,000, that's great. Oh, by the way, did we tell you that 10,000 out of that 100,000 is going to be siphoned off elsewhere? What? For what? Well, we got to go on a trip. No. How's that going to benefit the animals?
And didn't you tell me that Diane Hoover, who's the head of
health, public health,
public health, came in and they were having a discussion about the animal shelter and that what a wonderful thing it was because they're not putting a lot of animals to sleep.
Their number of euthanized animals, the animals they're killing, has gone way down. And I wow, that's fantastic. I mean, that's the kind of news. I mean, people accuse me of saying, "Well, you're so negative." Hey, this is really good news.
Right.
But why is it happening? Because people are volunteering. The county isn't doing it. Volunteer people are stepping forward to do things. Now, what we're going to say to you volunteers is, look, here's $100,000. Hey, thanks. Oh, give me back 10 of that. No, wait a minute. The solution, I think, again, is if you really don't say, remember the May levy, last May, the money may go here. That's what it really was. That was the May part of the May levy.
Right.
The money may go to this and it may be not. And we caught them on tape saying, well, let's really just not be so clear. That's just a little, we need a little. I'm not making this up. We need to be a little bit more vague about that, because if we promise that it will, then we're going to have to do that. That's what they said. And so we'll say, well, we may do this. It may go to this and it may go to that. And the sheriff has recently said, this new one, the money could be used for this. Now, hold on a second. It may, it could. The only way to make absolutely sure that you know where the money is going, I think the first thing is to get rid of these commissioners. But beyond that is to say, all right, because you don't trust us anymore, which I don't. I'm at all these meetings. I hear what they say about these things. Let's be purposely vague. Hey! So the way to do that is to say, all right, we're not going to do business as usual because this is so important. These are children. These are animals' lives. These are patrols, if we'd ever get around to that. We're going to make sure that there's no 10% siphoned off for our salaries, and that we're going to not charge an ISF rate. They're never going to do that. That's where their salaries come from.
Yeah.
They can't do that.
know.
They'll never agree to that.
Yeah.
That would be less money for them to spend.
It's a lot. 4.3 million.
There's your solution.
Yeah.
Let's challenge them to do that. Say, hey, I'll vote for that next time as long as you don't insist on taking 10% of every dollar. They're never going to do that.
Well, it's up to the people. Once again, I'm not. I don't think that this will pass. The animals might pass because it's so little, but such a little amount of money. But it will.
Well, wait a
set
minute.
precedent.
Even if it is a little bit of money. Okay, so on one hand you got someone that's going to burn a $100 bill before your eyes, and another you got someone that's going to burn a $20 bill. Oh, well, that's not as bad. Now, wait a minute. It's still burning money.
Well, it's true. I don't know. It's, if the people do this and they parse out little by little to all these different departments, the commissioners did say, well, the money that we normally would have spent going to, like, say, the jail, we could put to something else, like rural patrols.
Right.
I don't believe it. The thing is you can't. This board cannot obligate future boards like that. And they all three of them, I believe, sent a support letter to SOS saying that 100% was going to go to these departments.
Well, they qualified a little bit. They said something like, please, I can't say exact word for word because I don't have the piece of paper with me. Our intention is that all of this money is going to go to the proper place, something like that. It intentionally just a little bit vague. Our intention is that all the money is going to go to the proper place. Oh, well, now I'm convinced. I'm going to vote for this.
Yeah.
Take all my money, please. No.
It's just the wrong way to go about things, and the city people have no problems paying more in taxes because they get services. The county people, we don't have any services. We don't. We're not a burden.
Rural patrols. Where's the rural patrols?
We don't have any, and so I don't think the people in the county are going to be voting for this.
Well, let's take on this thing just a little bit longer. Thanks. Let's take on this thing about, well, if you put the money into this, then that'll free up money for something else. Well, let's try that. And in fact, we won't even be specific, purposely vague. We won't even be specific about, well, let's suppose there's project A, B, and C, and you put money into them, well, that frees up money within that project. So what that means is, if you put your money into this, why, don't think about that now, because that money is going to go over here, and it'll be spent on something you really want. Now, what, you're telling me that you're not putting into this new levy anything about rural patrols. But if you want rural patrols, or if you want more chlorine in your pool water, why, my gosh, you're going to get that by voting for this. Now, wait a minute.
No, I don't.
Now, wouldn't that apply to everything? That means, you know what? If you want more rural patrols, why don't you support animals? What? Yeah, because you want to support animals. Yeah. And if you support animals, then that may free up money. Yeah. That could be spent on this other thing that you really need. No, wait a minute. If we really need it, why don't we have voting on that?
Yeah. The whole thing is, with the budgeting process and everything, ultimately, it all comes from the taxpayer. And the taxpayer's funding all of this stuff. And, you know, I don't care if there's more money in one fund and not enough money in the other. Asking people who don't have, you know, high salaries and benefits and travel, you know, allotments to cough up more money so that they can have that. I'm so dead set against it. You know, you can't tax your county into prosperity. You can't, you know, sure, it's prosperous for the local government employees and elected officials, but you're harming your community by doing this.
The proof that this is a bit of a shell game, just a bit, the proof of this is, okay, you put your money into this thing, and it's really going to help you on this other thing that you really want, or that you have to need, or you really need. No, we didn't put up anything about that because we put this one up. Now, wait a minute. Okay, once again, I would rather that you put up something about this. Well, that'll come later, but this wouldn't help for that. No. And here's the proof. So I'm sitting there listening the last levy while the commissioners are on a live teleconference, which is a lot better than travel to me. And they got a huge screen, and they hardly ever use it. That's for another story. So they're on this thing, and they're being given the latest information from Salem about how to pass levies. Whoa, they're really paying attention. And they say, by the way, have you considered the idea of throwing in something on the last levy where it's going to help children at schools? Remember how this children at schools thing suddenly got added on? Oh, by the way, this will help us put more law enforcement people at the schools. Remember how it came out of nowhere? It came directly. It didn't come out of. It came directly out of that webinar, on that workshop. They're explaining to them. They say, what you need to do. I mean, they were very clear. You need to find something that people. It's a hot button with people like children. Let's protect the children in schools. Can't have those children bursting into flames. Okay, we need to have the money for this. So if you tell people that the money may go for that, but you don't commit for it, why, they're going to vote for it. It didn't work.
Yeah, that webinar had a lot of things in it. They had the sheriff, I believe it was from Deschutes County, Gill, our sheriff, did try that in 2008, the two-tier taxing district, you know, where the city and the county pay different rates. And because it passes in one county, they think, oh, well, let's try it in another county. I don't care how you package a property tax increase.
Yes.
The rural residents are going to vote no, because they have nothing.
Well, all right, maybe three reasons. One is less money. That's a motivating factor. Number two is more doubt about county government based on reality, not based on guesswork. We can see some of the stuff that they're doing. And the third one is, and the one that just kills me, when I hear people, they're getting folks to sign a petition by lying to them. That makes me not want to sign that petition. And it was a lie, and it's against the law. And it's more than being against the law. You don't need to look in a law book. There's another book. It's very popular around the world, the world's most popular book. And if you look in there, it says, don't lie to people. And remember when we were at that debate the last time, and the dream team was there. It was Mark Gatlin and the sheriff, and Cheryl Walker, and Keith Heck. And somebody in the audience said, well, you're guaranteeing this money will go to the right... Oh, yes, it'll absolutely go to the right place. And the lady in the audience said, would you took some cuts.
How do we know?
Yeah, would you swear on the Bible?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't swear on the Bible. I was raised, you don't swear on the Bible. But would you swear on the Bible that this, oh yes, Cheryl Walker says yes, Keith Heck says yes, the sheriff is nodding his head, Mark Gatlin, he's fine with that. Wait a minute. Someone took a flash picture and I thought, here's the end. It's a lightning bolt. It wasn't true. They had just said earlier that same day that wasn't true. I'm not going to vote for people who lie to me.
Yeah, and Mark Gatlin was asked, well, how do we know it's going to go to the right department? And he pointed to you, me, and Jim Rafferty and said, these are the people that are going to keep us in line.
They're going to enforce it.
And it's just like, give me a break.
Well, there's an easy way to enforce it. Don't pass the thing in the first place.
Jeez, and it didn't. And the thing, yeah, it didn't. And
liars lie, cheaters cheat. I'm not voting. I want these things to happen. But there's a reason I don't trust these guys. It's not because I think there's anything inherently wrong with government. There isn't. We're a government, right? Well, maybe not in Josephine County. I don't trust them. Now, challenge. I haven't mentioned this to you. Challenge to you, challenge to me. So I go to SOS meetings, as many as I can go to, and it's securing our safety, and they're behind this. Well, there's an awful lot of county employees and county government people and city government people and union people, and they're all really the wheels behind this. Oh, and SEIU, one of the unions, is providing them the phones. Oh, but there's no government involvement. Yeah, right. And what else? And you can take your petitions down to the courthouse and drop them off at the assessor's office. Hey, wait a minute. I thought you said there was no involvement by the county. Okay, it's purely citizen-driven. There's no government. Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
and the commissioners are going to those
and
SOS
they're
meetings.
constantly saying here, go on a run for the money, run from the law, whatever that thing is called. Oh, and that's going to raise money, and it's got nothing to do. Yeah, right. Don't tell us this stuff, because it oozes out of them, these lies.
Yeah.
It's just not true. But okay, so here's the challenge they gave me at SOS. I said to them, look, do you realize that you have people, and I'm thinking directly of, I'm mentioning them by name, Mark Gatlin and Sherry Adkins, who's his campaign manager, so Mark can run for county commissioner. Do you realize that they have been caught telling people that 100% of the money is going to... And we know this is true because Mark Gatlin said it on tape also. I mean, I don't carry a camera with me everywhere I go. I'm not crazy. Well, not that crazy. And so they said these things. And Mark has said it on tape as well. Oh, 100% of the money, and they're the ones that are going to enforce it. Yeah, right. And what they said to me is... Oh, no, I'm sorry. I said to them, do you realize that you have people here representing SOS that are getting people to sign something fraudulently? I'm using the right word here, because they're telling them 100% of this money is going to go to this, and it's not possible, not in our system. I think we could change the system, but we're not going to do that. The commissioners aren't. So I said, how does that make you feel to be part of a group where there are people who are lying to the public to get them to sign something? It was kind of a gutsy thing to say to a group of people that are all in favor of this. And some of them were, that guy should never get a chance to speak. And others were, one guy got up and left the room. He was so angry that I even brought up a question. And Archie Leidy, I like Archie Leidy. He's a good guy. And he's in charge of the group. And he said, no, wait. He says, when people ask questions like these, and Dale talked to me ahead of time, I said, yeah, please do come, because we should be able to pass the acid test. We should be able to answer these questions. When such things happen, we should have answers ready. And so he's asking a question which is a legitimate one. And so I said to them, how do you feel about that? Well, we got to do something about that. Some of the people, well, we shouldn't be telling people that. And I said, right, that's all. But Archie gave me a challenge at the end. He said, I challenge you, Dale Matthews, to come up with a plan of what are the good things that we can do with this levy, or how do we solve these problems instead of only complaining about them, Mr. Complaining, me. Why don't you come up with some ideas of the ways that we can solve these problems, because they are real problems. It's not like they're not real. They're real. And so if it's necessary to do this without the commissioners, or without this, or without lying, or with a great start, how could we solve this? But I came up with one. And one of them is, if we're going to spend the money, we can be sure that it's going to the right place if we stop siphoning off 10% right off the top.
Well, sounds good. The only thing is where's the oversight? I mean, the average person doesn't get to see.
Well, he pointed at you too, so you're the oversight. Sandy Casanelli,
Oh,
all
yeah,
by
right.
herself.
Yeah, right.
Well, the citizens, we try to
Yeah.
bring it to the citizens and say to them,
Try getting line
Oh.
item, expenditures from a department and everything. You'll never get it.
Judy
from the
Ahrens
county.
recently went to the county commissioner's office. She said,
Right.
you spent this money on kind of remodeling the front of your office. They don't like remodeling. They would prefer another word because it sounds like it's frivolous. And she says, could I find out how much this cost? Well, you can fill out this and do that. She says, well, I mean, just, generally, how much did it cost? Well, we really don't know. You really don't know. Look, these are the people that asked for it. You have no idea what it cost. Well, if you do this and do this. So she went through the procedure and the latest that she's heard is, well, if you really want those couple of numbers, it'll cost you $50 to find out. Now, wait a minute. How are we supposed to, as Simon Hare said to me once, he said, you're continually putting in these documents trying to find out how we're spending money. I said, yes.
Document requests.
And he said, it's going to cost you a lot of money to find out how we're doing this.
That's not good.
Not good. Yeah, not good.
Well, I just encourage everybody to vote no on the levies.
That won't cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
It'll cost you less money.
It's just my personal belief. I believe the rural community does not want to have an increase in property taxes for anything.
But the rural community does want certain kinds of services. The rural community, I don't believe that they're against animals and against children
No,
and
they
against...
aren't. They aren't. But the thing is they believe that the government should live within its means. And if
We have to.
Just to continually come to them for more and more taxes. I was astounded that Simon said at one weekly business session, I finally realized why, we always go to property owners is because, they're forced to cough up that money if they want to, keep their asset.
That's right.
It's a hard asset that they're and it's just like, it's such a horrible way of looking at your community as a food source to maintain the status quo for the county. Things are going up and up. The expenses are going up and up with the county. You have to stop, expecting county employees and department heads and everything have to stop expecting that it's going to be business as usual. It is
business as usual.
Well, that's
We're
the
seeing
problem.
it all the time.
Yeah. So that's the problem, until the rural residents see that the county can cut back and make substantial savings rather than, spending, and it can be done, 100 times a month on little things, then the community's not going to vote for this levy.
Well, one last thing about that. It's a little bit out of order, but I understand when they say, well, when people say we can just save our way into paying for these things, that's not possible. And they're probably right. That it's not going to be possible by cutting a little here and a little there. Well, let's not put cream in our coffee and doing these kinds of things that we're going to end up with a juvenile shelter. Okay, gotcha. But I'm not giving you any money at all for anything if you lie to me. One, just don't do that. Please, stop it. And the other one is, if your plans don't make any sense, or if you're being purposely vague, and you even say in a public meeting that you're being purposely vague, I'm not going to give you any money. And if your solutions involve saying, well, those dogs are not going to live if I don't fly off to Washington, D.C., I don't believe you when you tell me that. So I'm not being reactive and saying all government is rotten. Well, I know some people believe that. I'm not one of those people. But I know there's some rotten parts to ours, and until there's people I can trust, I don't want to give them any money. I don't want to give them 10%. I don't want to give them $10 because they're just going to throw it away on frivolous things. I want these services. I want the little animals to live and all that. Of course I do. I don't like being forced into doing it, and much like the library, I understand the library folks. Well, look, we have a heart of the community, and but all it takes is 51% or 50% plus one person to force me to pay for that. Now,
Right.
if you're going to want those things, then what happened to the spirit of volunteerism? Well, I'm going to help out. The fair, I like the fair, but now the fair has been saying, well, maybe we should, have a levy. In order to have the levy, you need 50% plus one person. Now, wait a minute. You're going to force us to pay for a fair? Really?
That's it, and it ransoms your house. There are people that I know some people that were living in the county. They got annexed into the city, and they were charged awful charges.
Yeah.
In order to do that, they had to go back 30 years and pay for, I don't know, the services that were provided for that area or some nonsense. But they had to take out a loan in order to pay that, to be annexed in.
Oh, no.
And then, and then they have more substantially more taxes to pay because they're in the city now rather than the county. So, there's a lot of senior citizens in Josephine County who cannot afford this.
So maybe the bottom line is, I don't really like this conclusion, but maybe the bottom line is, in more prosperous times, perhaps we'll kind of let it slide. In times where there's people that we mostly trust and they only lie to us every once in a while, like some of our friends. We all have friends that do that occasionally. Hey, you're lying to me. Yeah, but I only do that every once in a while. So maybe we'll let that slide. But in times like this, where the money is tight, where we know the money is being misspent, we know that sometimes they're lying to us, I don't want to give them any money. I don't want to give them any money.
No, I'm not going to. I'm voting no on these.
So stop lying to us. Tell us the truth about these things. Set up a thing where we know where the money is going, and then maybe we'll say yes. Meantime, no.